Quarterfinals are already underway, so it's time for an update on the round 3 winners and losers in Dark Corner's Horror Smackdown.
Well, if anyone gets any answers, it'll be the psychiatrist.
Number 1 seed and title contender Psycho was a shock loser, going out to Night of the Living Dead in a tight contest.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
This Devil's Advocate round had more than a few of you really analysing the films in the comments section, and it's possible this new perspective affected the outcome. Jonathan Hopper said, "I actually felt as if you were being truthful about Psycho and being ironic with Night of the Living Dead." And James Davis agreed. Psycho falls apart at the end, as you presented. Night of the Living Dead leaves a harrowing and memorable scene that's burned into my mind.
Good shot.
So perhaps we took out the Hitchcock classic. Godzilla vs. Horror of Dracula was a lot less close. Dracula, and perhaps more pointedly Christopher Lee, got some love. Samain Slasher saying, "As much as I love Godzilla and all things kaiju, Lee's demonic take on the Count is excellent." But the overwhelming majority voted for Godzilla. As the Unwatchables said, the effects may be dated, but the message is as powerful as ever. And Michael Denny brushed aside the Devil's Advocate criticism of the effects by pointing out, Godzilla 1998 tried to address the appearance of Godzilla by using the CGI of the time to make a realistic monster. And look what that got us. Realism does not always result in a better picture. The Birds vs. the Wicker Man was one we simply couldn't call. But in the end, Alfred Hitchcock suffered a second defeat, while Christopher Lee made up for losing out in Dracula.
And now, for our more dreadful sacrifice.
Both these films divide horror fans anyway, The Birds particularly, and Joseph Doherty pointed out, the interesting thing about this particular Devil's Advocate stance is that it ends up articulating so many of the reasons why the damn thing is so remarkable. The Birds seems to exist somewhere outside of normal criticism. But The Wicker Man does have that ending.
Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ!
Amber W. said, "After seeing the reaction of both my teenage sons, I was fully certain that this is a horrifying film. Neither of them are particularly scared or shocked by anything, but The Wicker Man succeeded at doing both." To the surprise of many, not least us at DCHQ, The Shining did not make light work of the Phantom of the Opera. Instead, it was the silent that went through, continuing an underdog story that illustrates just how much we love Lon Chaney, and how divisive The Shining remains amongst genre fans.
You've got a big surprise coming to you.
Greg summed up the heat. Flawed pictures necessarily must come down to the strength of their villainous leads. While Nicholson is a magnificent actor, Jack Torrance is not his best role.
Here's Johnny!
Whereas Chaney's Phantom is an icon for the ages. Impressive even by today's standards, and by legacy is the father of all cinema horror villains. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see it in the final. Another silent film through in the next match, but this one not remotely a surprise. While almost everyone pointed out what a good film Invasion of the Body Snatchers is, Nosferatu got more than 3 times as many votes. Earthstar Films said, "There are images here that come directly from the darkest part of the mind." W agreed, saying, "The movie is almost 100 years old and still has the power to shock and disturb." The Omen vs. The Thing might have seemed like another foregone conclusion, but actually it really was. Not to be outdone by Nosferatu, The Thing got 4 times as many votes as The Omen.
How can he know that? Maybe he's wrong.
It wasn't a whitewash. Chinny Pepper said, "I have to go with The Omen. Its characters are much better written, making the story better than in The Thing as well." But the majority sentiment was summed up by Ravenhouse Mystery. When I think of a true horror scenario, it's hard not to immediately think of The Thing. An isolated location, fear and paranoia overtaking the people, and a monster that can appear as anyone, all add up to a truly horrifying tale. Meanwhile, Joseph Doherty said, "I think for the first time, the strain of devil's advocating is beginning to show. Yeah, well, it was hard." Alien vs. King Kong was far closer and came down to 2 questions. Is King Kong horror? And if not, do we say sod it, we love it anyway?
The eighth wonder of the world.
Alien took it in the end, but not without some broken hearts along the way. Watchwaddle said, I think King Kong is easily one of the greatest films ever made, especially as an animator. But your devil's advocate is right, it's not horror. I feel bad doing this, but put my vote for Alien. While Brett R. Bolter said, on effects alone I would have to declare Kong the winner over Alien, which was, ironically for this comparison, just a man in a suit. But when the alien burst from John Hurt's chest, horror got a new king. We expected Frankenstein vs. the Fly to be a lot closer than this, but classics have a way of getting through. Despite the arguments of Crom Thulson, Frankenstein is one of the best movies in the Universal canon, but The Fly is so disturbing, and Glenn Talbot's I Like the Gore. The original Mad Scientist took out The Young Pretender, perhaps because it has more heart. Dan D. Doty said, Frankenstein moves, makes us examine our nature, and shows that we and we alone are responsible for what we create.
I made him with these hands, and with these hands I'll destroy him.
So, there's the quarterfinal lineup. Voting has already opened on the first matches. Who do you think is going to make it through to the semis? Can anyone stop the Thing? Can Phantom of the Opera blag it through another round? It's all up to you.